So welcome to today's practice. I'm in the studio today, so I've got a little bit more space, which is really wonderful. But today's class is all about hips. So you may need some bricks and that might come in really handy. If you haven't got bricks, obviously you can use books or anything to raise your hands off of the surface. Now, with hips, depending on what you are stretching, there could be a release or happy release. So don't be afraid if you find that you might be feeling a little tearful or there's a release happening within the body. Just accept it for how it is. But the main thing is always practice with awareness and know that your body needs time in certain postures. So don't expect yourself to be flying into the splits or flying into lunges or anything like that. No, it takes time, it takes practice. But where are we going to start today? Today we're going to be starting sitting. You can sit in a cross-legged position, you can sit in a butterfly, you can sit with one leg out, however feels comfortable. And I do like to take the brick and place it underneath my bottom just to give me that little bit of a lift. So my hips are higher than my knees and it gives my knees that little bit of ease as well. We could place our hands into a bowl or they could be on your knees or even finding a mudra. You can have a hand on a heart and a hand on a belly. Again, just find a place that feels comfortable for you. Roll the shoulders up, back and down. Give the jaw a little release. And then let's take a moment to either soften the gaze or even close the eyes. Lengthening up through the crown of the head. And if you can, it's a great time now to pull up that pelvic floor. Draw your navel towards spine and up. And taking the chin back to the sternal notch and almost lifting your collarbones up, but not raising the shoulders. It's almost locking your Jalandhara Bandha. And start to connect to your breath. So taking the breath in through the nose, out through the nose, and you could find that nice constriction at the back of the throat, that soft hissing sound. For me, it sounds like the wind within the trees. It could be the gentle ocean coming in and coming out. Some even like to label it Darth Vader's breath. Again, it will be a breath that suits you. And as we're connecting to our breath, we're arriving into the present moment where life truly exists. With this breath now, and then the next breath. And without the breath, there is no yoga, there is no life. So it is our life force. It is so important. And it is the one thing that you can tether to or connect to keep you here in the present moment. I wish you all a beautiful practice today. Honor your bodies. Listen to what it needs. Add the modifications. But when you are ready, blink open the eyes. Let's start to move the head from side to side. And then we'll look from side to side. And if a half circle feels good, we'll do that. And if a full circle feels good, do that. Coming back, let's roll the shoulders. You could add your arms, so like levers. Nice and clunky for me. And you can change the direction. Good. Opening the arms out, reach over to a side. We'll have some lateral side bends. up and over. Good. Coming back to neutral, take the hands behind the head, interlace the fingers. And we'll start to do like a stir the part, but letting the whole head move. So this is a great thing to get into the upper body, but for me, the leaning forward, the background and up opens up my hips a little bit more. Good. And gently come back to neutral. Switch over legs. Again, interlace the fingers. And let's go in the opposite direction. Good. And then you'll come back to neutral. Keep the hands behind the head, arch the back, puff the chest forward, cow pose. Rounding and closing the elbows, finding your cat pose. The inhale comes forward, so make sure we're rocking on that pelvis, so it's curling and tilting. It's not just the rib cage moving forward and back, it is your pelvis as well. Driving it forward on the inhale, curling it under on the exhale. Good. Make this your last one here. And come back to neutral. The leg that's in front of you, draw it in towards your chest and give it a little circle, a little ease. I like to take my hand towards the floor and have a little opening here. And place that foot down onto the floor, as wide as it can go. Now, it's a little ease and back. So this, for me, especially on this side, this hip is incredibly tight. It's where my sciatica lies. It's where my bad knee is as well. So I have to lift my hip a little. But because we're still early in our warm up, I'm just wanting to initiate the in and the out. So the internal, external rotation of our hip. Good. And bring that leg back in. Let's switch sides, so drawing that knee in, giving it a little lift, maybe opening it out toward the side, and then placing that foot down and placing the other hand down. Now this hip is so much easier. You're going to realize how different each side is, and just be okay with it. Just know that there's areas that you may need to work a little more. Areas that you maybe need to back off a little bit more. But we just take our time working that internal, external rotation. Excellent. And then gently bring it back in. Now, I'd like you to extend your legs forward. Keep sitting on that brick if it helps. I'm just changing my angle. And give your legs just a little shake. And very simple, point and flex your feet. Flexion, extension through your legs, obviously activating your calves, hamstrings, quads, and keeping as tall as you can. Good. Now, let's stay with the feet flexed. I want you to turn the legs out and turn them in. So you might need to widen them a little. Now, what I want you to be careful is that the ankles aren't just flapping, moving. It's all the way at the top of the hip and then opening the hip. So it's in, out. You've got to think about it just a little bit more. Couple more. Good. So today we're targeting the hips, and I want to tell you it does help your lower back so much as well. Good. One more. Excellent. Bend those knees in. Give them a little hug. Keep those legs going, making our way into 4-point kneeling, tabletop. You might want to move your brick. Tuck your toes underneath, shoulders over wrists, hips over knees, knees hip distance apart. And let's start our lovely big flow. Big movements that feel good. Moving it around, up, back, down. Good, take that time. Wonderful. And and bring it back to neutral. Release the toes. Right leg, my favorite movement. Start to big circles, big hip cranks, big movements. The bigger, the better. But don't sink in the upper body. Keep pressing up through the shoulder blades. Keep the core strong. Change the direction. Good. And then you're going to step that foot to the outside of your right hand. This is where your bricks might come in handy. You might even want to pad up that back knee. And I want you to move big circles here. Now, as the hips are driving forward, down and round, you are awakening your hip flexor a little bit in your quadricep, but we're going to get into that quad just a little bit more in a second. Good. Change the direction. Good. Lovely. You're going to stretch back into a half monkey. It's still early in our warm-up, so take it time, take it easy. Give it a little stretch, give it a little wiggle. So I've got my bricks, I've lifted them up, but all I'm doing is giving my tail a little wiggle as I'm stretching through the back of the hamstring. Nice and easy. Good. Now let's start a fluid movement forward and back, just allowing our body time to sink into this movement. So now we're targeting our hamstring. Be careful when we go back, we don't round and keep that tailbone rounded underneath. You want to be sticking it out so you can encourage length all the way down in towards that hamstring, in towards the calf, even down towards the foot. Good. Meet me in lunge, but I want you to move the hands. Even move the bricks if you can and come up. Shorten your lunge a little, so it's almost like a 90-90, okay? Tuck the tailbone underneath, squeeze the glutes and just shift forward. So you shouldn't be able to drive forward and down. Keep the body upright and you should feel a lovely stretch down and toward that quad. Interlace the fingers, take the hands behind the head and start those little upper body moves here. Very short, very squeezed, very, very tight. Good. Change the direction. Lovely. Good. Gently release. Now widen that lunge just a little bit more. Maybe bricks come underneath your hands. Tuck the toe of the back leg and engage, but make sure that front knee is still stacked over the ankle. You have a little shift with your body forward and back. But if your body feels ready, you're going to bend into that back knee, but it's a little forward and back movement. So it's very small, so you can stay here with me. If you want to do it a little bit bigger, but you maybe need to move your bricks, we can start to shift a little bigger, a little more, but take it easy. So this is more style of like a dynamic stretch with our movements. It's one I do favor a lot for what it does for my body. So once you get the hang of it, it becomes easier, I promise. Good. Gently release, everybody. Take it back and up to our downward facing dog. Options to have a kneeling down dog. Remember that. Pedal it out, sway it out. Good. Ripple forward back to plank pose, lowering your knees, set up for your second side. Hip cranks, big movements. Remember, don't sink. Keep pressing up and out. Good. Change the direction. Good. And then lightly step that foot to the outside of the hand. Again, nice big circles. Remember, we're still easing into it. Change the direction. Nice. And then you can start that forward and back, little easy movement. Remember, it doesn't have to be too far. If you want to, you can stick it out and go a little deeper, whatever feels good. Good. And then slowly we shorten that lunge. We come up, we tuck the tailbone underneath, you squeeze the glutes. You still drive forward, but we do more movement in the upper body while this is quite strong. So you should feel a little sensation maybe in the quad, maybe in the hip flex, and you think, Cal, I'm not feeling anything. The more you squeeze those glutes, the more you tuck your pelvis underneath and you drive forward, but you're not driving down, you should be able to activate that stretch. Go in the other direction. Lovely. And then we'll make our way forward. Change the bricks, change the angle of your leg, and tuck the toes of the back leg. And we can have that little forward and backward movement. Options to be here. And if you want to start to shorten it and maybe move with me, do that. Now, we always have a big debate about making sure that knee doesn't overshoot the toes. But remember, we do this for stability. So you are stronger when bones are stacked. But obviously when you're moving up and down some stairs, your knee does overshoot your toes naturally. But when it comes to stability, we want to be able to hold a pose a little longer, which is why we stack that knee over your ankle. One more, everybody. Good, plant your hands and step it back, downward facing dog, pedal it out. Sway it out, move in the body. Beautiful. From here, I want you to slide your right shin forward, but coming onto your bottom, and you're going to do like an S shape with your legs. So it's an S all the way through. Okay, so this is called deer pose, probably one of my favorites. It's a great modification for pigeon pose. But you want, if you can, have your knee in line with your ankle and your knee in line with your hip. And the same with the back leg, unless it's feeling a little too much, you can bring it more into an angle. So do what feels good. Right, hands may want to be behind you to support you, but you're going to lift up as straight as you can, just like we did in the very, very beginning, but we're going to try and switch over to our other side. Good, and then we'll lift up and over and back. Okay, so what I want you to think about as we're doing this, you might start to travel off your mat, so don't worry. Make sure we're not sinking here just to be able to move those legs. Try and lift up and out using those hips and legs as much as you can. Challenge is to maybe make the arms less of a thing. I mean, if you need them, use them. But if you don't need them, maybe try them up and out of the way. So the body is having to do that opening and closing by itself. Good. Meet me back on that first side. You might have to shuffle your side forward. Good. Very simple, move forward. Try not lean to a side, try and square yourself as much as you can. Now, the back foot is going to dig into the floor, and very simply, you're just going to lift that back knee and down. I'm not lifting the leg, no. I'm just lifting the knee and down. A lot for the brain to try to use all the little signals to that leg. So if it lifts and plonks down, great. But what I don't want you to do is change your body. Try and keep it a square and try and just initiate the lift. Good, one more. Lovely, let it go and just fold forward. Try and be as square as you can as we're opening up that side hip. Beautiful. Slowly lift up. I'm going to take my bricks with me because I use them. And we're going to lift up and over to your second side. Oh, not my good side either. Set yourself up so you're comfortable. And remember that back leg is going to dig in. And we're going to lift up and down. Up and down. You can really feel that inner thigh working I can definitely feel this whole hip working. We just got to breathe. Couple more breaths. My leg is shaking now. One more. Lovely. Come down and fold forwards, allowing that little rest. Again, try and be as square as you can over that leg. Very good. And then gently come on up. Okay. I'm going to stay facing this angle, so you might want to come round so you can see me. So you might want to lift your legs up and over. Right, we're going to do a sitting version of figure 4. So sitting up, you might want to use your hands. You can cross your right ankle over the left thigh. Now, it doesn't have to be dead up in the air. You can be a little bend, a little bend, a little bend. You want to be feeling this hip working. Don't be sitting back. The more you can lift and drive the hip forward, I actually like to lift my bottom towards the heel, then sit back and then give myself a little bit more of a push, walking myself forward. But this has got to be in time. And most people say find stillness. For me, stillness is still very hard to find, so movement for me is better. I find more peace in a slight bit of movement. I find more sensation with a bit of movement too. But then if you're not like me and you want the stillness, find that stillness. One more breath. Gently release, take it easy. We're going to go second side. So anyone who's had hip replacements or anything like that, obviously you do want to open your hip, but you want to make sure that you're not damaging any plate work or any other work at all. So know your limits. So if you're not up here with me, don't have to be. We can be here. This is perfect. Everybody's hips are different. So giving yourself just that little ease. And for some reason, whenever I do hip work or hamstring work, I just get this overwhelming sense of warmth, like whew, it fires everything up. So it's still so difficult. Gently release and coming on back. I'm going to change angles now. So you're going to bring your feet together in towards your butterfly pose. Give yourself just a little ease. Good, you might want to hook the fingers around the toes, lifting up, and let's have a little flutter of our legs. Little flutter. Now, I don't want to flutter up. I want to flutter down, 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 down. So think down. Now, everything, especially in my classes, the intention needs to always change. What is my intention of this pose? For me, it's to open the hips a little, gently to give myself that sense of ease. Because if I was just to stay here, gravity, yes, would do its thing, but it feels so much easier giving it this dynamic movement before I rest. Okay, when you're ready, let it go and reach forward and allowing that little bit of stillness here. Good, just folding it forwards. Now, if knees are starting to ache, widen it a little. Some prefer it that way. If you need it closer, do it closer. Again, just allowing that movement to come into the body. Lovely. Slowly coming on up, give those knees a little close and hug them in. Give a little ease. Wonderful. Perfect. Now gently swing your legs round to your front and make your way down onto your back, hugging your knees in towards your chest. having a little rock. Keep a hold of your right leg and let your left leg go. Good. Gently interlace the fingers behind the leg and just stretch the leg up and roll out your ankle here. Walk your hands up the thigh, up the calf, up to a point where it feels good, and bend the knee. See if you can keep a hold of the ankle. If your body allows you to find the foot, it's like a lunge, but we'll hang out here. Just stretching through. Nice. Gently release, draw that knee into your chest and take it over to the left for a twist. Lovely. Gently come on back. Switch legs. Draw the other leg into your chest. Stretch it up. Roll out your ankle. Walk your hand up the leg. And then find a little bend. Obviously straps are really useful. But sometimes I feel like I can get a real good grip with my hands. And you can always progress on to more postures from here. But today it's just having that release. For me, it doesn't feel so much as a release in my hamstrings. Good, bending the knee, taking it across the body for your twist. Lovely. Gently bringing it back in. Hug your knees in one more time to your chest. I encourage you now to either just have a gentle rock with me. If you want to come into a happy baby, do that. You can even just stretch your legs up and give them a little shake. A little release. But then slowly coming on down. And let's find our resting place. You can knock the knees in, your legs can be straight. If you want to carry on with the hip theme, bring the soles of the feet together, let the knees drop out, and you can be in a butterfly. Hands can be on a heart and on the belly, and you can connect here. Arms can always be away from you, but just be comfortable. Close down the eyes. And have a quick review of what we've done, what's been open, what's been stretched, what's been worked in an active way. So hips and hamstrings doesn't always have to be a soft stretch. Dynamic stretch is a wonderful thing to do as well. It's quick, it can be really useful. But take the time now just to rest. Allow the body a moment just to do nothing, because this might be the only rest that you have before your head hits the pillow tonight. And of course you have the opportunity to stay as you are. You have the opportunity to roll to a side and stay there. Or if you want to, you can always come up to a seat with me, finding the same position that we maybe started in. But you can draw our hands towards our heart centers, bow your heads. Definitely thank your bodies for what it's done today. It may have been completely different and something that you may have never tried. So be proud of it. Namaste.